All right, so let's talk some Vita Vea. He's kind of been one of the storylines of last game. I mean, this is what Vita Vea has been doing for a couple years now. He's just such a unique player. He really is a unicorn in the NFL. There's no one quite like him who has his size and can move the way that he can move. It's such a joy to watch, quite frankly. And again, are there better players in the NFL than Vita Vea? Sure. Is there anyone that can do what he can do? Not that I can think of. So let's get into the film study. Let's talk about sort of all the stuff he was able to do. And I actually think that he had maybe an underrated game, even though he's getting a lot of attention, just because he's a disruptor. And what's really interesting is that we actually got to see some edge rusher Vita Vea, which we also saw in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. Look, right here, he is currently lined up on the edge. In fact, Tampa Bay has 7 players faking as though they could potentially be blitzing right here, which I find very fascinating. 2 are going to drop back into coverage, so it is a blitz, but not a complete, cover 0 blitz like they're kind of showing as though it could be. And Vea, yeah, he's lined up on the edge, which it's just such a unique thing that Todd Bowles does, and I kind of like it. You basically force a tackle to have to deal with someone he's not used to dealing with. Usually the tackles are used to dealing with sort of more of these quicker guys, and now all of a sudden you gotta have to, go up against a bull rush against a guy like Vea. That's just a difficult task to ask somebody to do. And he's going up right here against Tyron Smith, who, Smith, one of the better tackles in the league still even today at this point, and, obviously had a great career, and watch what Vea is going to do against him. So right when this play starts, again, it's not anything fancy. He basically just puts both his hands on him and is going to push. And it's not like he's going to get the sack here necessarily, but he doesn't have to. Again, that's a key factor in Vea's performance and what Vea brings to the table for Tampa Bay. The reality is, people just don't get sacks on their own. Very rarely, I should say. Every now and then you'll jump a snap count, get a sack, but almost always you need some sort of help. And that either has to come in the coverage or it has to come with a teammate, oftentimes both. And what Vea can do is he basically can set things up for his teammates by not allowing Prescott to go in a certain direction. Because watch how he pushes Smith back like that. And, if that play lasted a little longer, it would have been a sack. So that's kind of what he was able to do, is just sort of just disrupt things. And he can do it from the edge, which is more fun. But obviously he's fantastic just from the interior. I think something like this is probably a better example to really show off his skill set a little bit. So he is going to be going up one-on-one against Dallas's center right here. And that's the other factor, is it's not fair that he can just line up against centers. That should be illegal because, for a center, you have to, snap the ball, meaning it takes you a little bit longer to get your hands up, meaning Vea is probably going to get the hand placement he wants. And again, he doesn't do anything too fancy. It's mostly just bull rushes with him. So gets the hand placement he wants, drives you back. There's not a lot you can do, just period. And so watch how Vea, he does very quickly, gets good hand placement. And it's not like he's really disrupting Dak Prescott too much on this play, but that's not the point. The point is that Prescott absolutely cannot step up in his pockets. Prescott has to stay where he's at. Now, I would say both tackles for Dallas did a really good job on the edge right here. So because of that, there's not going to be a sack. There's not really going to be a pressure. But Vita Vea is absolutely just setting things up because now Prescott can't step up in the pocket. So had JPP, who looks like he's about to, get a sack, it doesn't quite work out that way. Smith is going to come back, and, you can see Barrett is tied up right here. If one of those guys was able to get over, Prescott would have no choice but basically to just fall down. So that's kind of what Vea brings to the table, even though on a lot of these plays, just, seemed like got a little bit unlucky where when he would set something up, his teammates weren't getting around the edge, and when his teammates got around the edge, those would be the snaps when he wasn't in the game, it seemed like. And watch, it doesn't end up being the pressure, and it's still incomplete though. But again, it's less about that and more about just the play itself, I would say, and what Vea can do consistently. And then there was stuff like this, where what's going to happen is this one was awesome, right? I mean, it went viral. This kind of is the quintessential Vita Vea play, I would say. He's going up one-on-one against Dallas's center, and watch what he's going to do. I mean, look, right when this play starts, so at this point, you see the center kind of doing a bit of a hug technique. You see how his left arm is just on Vea's back, basically. Basically, when you're in this situation, it means that Vea can't really get around you too much, but he can sort of drive through you. That's typically what you do, and as a center, you'll often accept that. It's not ideal. You'd rather just stop him in his tracks, of course. I mean, you look at how far back from the line of scrimmage they currently are. The line of scrimmage was on the 36-yard line on this play. They're currently at the 30, so he's driven him back a lot already. So at this point, for Dallas's center, what you can do at this point is you kind of have no choice at a certain point but to just plant your feet and hope that you can stop him in his tracks, because if you just keep getting driven backwards, you're going to run into Prescott. So that's what he's going to try to do, and it is not going to work out. I mean, watch Vita just fold him like a lawn chair right there, bumps into Prescott, which results in the incomplete pass. Was not ruled a fumble, but stuff like that. That's what he can do. And it wasn't just one good play. And of course, it's been several years of good play, but there's other stuff as well. Like, for example, right here, what's going to happen is that it's going to be actually relatively similar, but this time he is not going up against a center. He's going up against a guard, which you would expect to be a more difficult matchup. And I have to mention on this play, unfortunately, we're not going to see how it would have ended up, because Prescott's going to get rid of the ball quickly. And that's an aspect of all of this, is with Dallas's receivers, guys were getting open quickly, especially with Tampa Bay. Their typical third corner, Sean Murphy-Bunting, being banged up. Now Ross Cockrell's in. It's a little bit easier to throw to find someone open. But watch Vea again. It's just that bull rush to push him back. And that would have been, a pressure had that play lasted a long time. And again, there was pressure off the edge there. So there would have been a sack on that play had it gone a little bit longer. There just happened to be Amari Cooper getting open right away. So that's kind of what I mean, is you saw watching the tape a lot of these plays that could have really worked out, and it was just the situation. They got a little unlucky with some of this stuff to not actually get the sack, but Vea had just an incredible game. I mean, listen, Vita Vea is an absolute monster. I do think he is the best defensive lineman on that team. I think that with him, you just can't run the ball against Tampa Bay. And you saw when he was hurt last year, it was just a different defense. They didn't get as much pressure. Teams could run the ball a little bit on him. And once he came back, it's like, okay, that's off the table. We're not running against Vita Vea. That's just not going to work. What else can we do? Which, again, it opens the door for Tampa Bay to do things like they did in the Super Bowl, which was play two safeties deep a lot of times, because, if they did try and run, you have to try and run on, number 50 for Tampa Bay, which just is not very easy to do whatsoever. So there's so much it does well, and the passing game is the most exciting stuff. But just to not allow Prescott to be able to move up throughout the game, that's just what he does to quarterbacks. You can't move up, so whenever there's pressure off the edge, it's going to be a sack unless you get rid of the ball quickly, which Prescott did a good job of tonight. Or not tonight, I'm recording this later, the game last night, that's what he was able to do. So, yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible, again, he's just an incredible player. I mean, I want to say this was an incredible performance, but it really wasn't. This is what he does. This is what he does week in, week out, and it's a joy to watch. So, yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What were your thoughts on Vita Vea's performance? Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.